Good morning everybody and welcome back to another video where today we are remastering another custom set. This one going back all the way to Wave 1 and the original sort of multi-vehicle battle pack. Battle pack's the wrong term, but two vehicles in a Lego box fighting against each other. And this one was based off Skyward Sword's Wing Ceremony. And as you've seen in the thumbnail, these guys have had a bit of a juice up. Still on the playset scale, but let me introduce you to the remastered Wing Ceremony, which actually looks the same. It doesn't include Zelda's Loftwings. That is just a bonus for today. But for the longest time, I have wanted to sort of give these guys a bit of extra oomph in the wings, and seeing the inspiration of the Medieval Dragon, one of the new Creative 3-in-1 sets, I finally had a good source of inspiration for how to redesign these wings in a not too heavy, playset suitable way that would give them just that little bit more poseability compared to what the old ones lacked. But more of that in a minute. Let's introduce this new set properly by taking a look at its price and piece count. First, I need to let you know that there's a new batch of instructions available on Rubricable. That's right, loads of the Lego Zelda models are finally making their way across into instructions, largely free, a couple are paid for you to purchase. Today's new additions include Lon Lon Ranch from Wave 3, Sonia's Tea Time and the Gazebo from Wave 8, and a non-Zelda build in the form of a clock tower. And Sonia and Lon Lon are free today. Clock Tower is paid, but there's plenty of other free designs over on Rubricable, so go check it out. But let's get back to the video. So, this is the Wing Ceremony Z005. Many of you won't have seen this because it's back in Wave 1. I don't recommend you watch the Wave 1 videos. Instead, watch the Wave 1 recap. Hopefully that will be linked in the cards. And if you can't find it, have a look at the dungeon video we did, because that goes over some of the best ones. But those videos are 5 years old, so we will slowly be remastering them all. This set contains around 298 pieces and would retail for a shockingly high £34.99 Great British pounds. I've been readjusting those prices as we go back to sort of match current levels, and it is really funny to see how optimistic some of my initial Wave 1 estimates were. I stand by everything from later on. And there are 3 figures in here and 2 brick characters, and all of these guys have had upgrades for today, including the side build. Let's quickly go through our description and then open up our box. Soar into the sky in the new Lego The Wing Ceremony playset. Ride one of 2 Loftwings as you compete for the bird statue, or race your friend to find out who's the best flyer. With wing, leg, head and tail articulation, you can play with your Loftwing in the stables or the sky, and including 3 minifigures, you create the story and unlock a world of potential adventure. That's right, same description, just with some better grammar. And as I mentioned, of course, one of the big additions to this model is that if I was remastering the Loftwing, I wanted to do it in every color, and it is purely my intention to have these at conventions eventually as well. So we also did a color swap version in blue for Zelda's Loftwing from Skyward Sword, and she and this do not appear in the set, but it is something I wanted to include today. And you'll see here the new beak design with the curve, we'll come back to that later. And the chain around the neck is the unique version here, and this matches the amiibo colors. But we'll talk more about her later. For now, of course, this set contains 3 bags, and of course, the figure's got a big upgrade as well. So let's jump straight into taking a look at all of those details. So something I briefly alluded to earlier was the original inspiration for this set, which of course was the Wing Ceremony, but also the style of set it was inspired by, and that is very much the 2 vehicles in a box. This is something we saw really prevalently in Ninjago. My go-to example is in 2020 in the Prime Empire wave, where we had 2 sort of racer bikes going against each other in the Prime Empire wave, and it was a £30 to £35 set that had 2 vehicles that you could clash with, either one in both hand or 2 different people playing with it. And this was something that I very clearly wanted to have because it is such a key concept of play and opens up opportunities, not only in this case for animal care play, but also like race play. And that's something we don't have too many opportunities for in the Zelda franchise. So I absolutely jumped on that. And then of course the Loftwings themselves are also really iconic, but that's why it's the Wing Ceremony and not just another set with a Loftwing. Now, Link's Loftwing will actually be reappearing in another set in the future. I may remodel it for that to show how designs change over time, but if we take a look at the original set, you'll see that the wings are made up of 3 petals each, feathers, and these could go up and down, and it's okay, it's not great. But it does the job. It was a bit flimsy, but again, this was play, and this was also much earlier in my design career, back in 2020, one of the first things I designed. Since these box renders, they had a second tinier upgrade. When I brought the model into real life, we had some structural problems which actually resulted in me upgrading the heads to what you see today. So the heads are actually from what I'm calling the 2nd gen, and then today's mods are the 3rd generation. So this makes the Loftwing the most remastered set of all time because it's gone through 3 versions. And yeah, that 2nd version did modifications to the head, adding this plant element piece around the back to add a little bit more fluff. Still kept that very 2D narrow profile, which I know some people hate, but remember, I'm not going for 100% game accuracy. It's supposed to be that combination between looks good for the display fans, but also extremely playable for that cheaper and obviously child-friendly price point. Beyond the head, the other addition that was made in the Gen 2 version was the feet, which then carried over into Gen 3, which was adding the back toe, which was sort of debatable whether I should have done because it would be an easy knockoff point for children in play. But in the end, I found a version that I was happy with. And of course, these legs are fully posable, as we mentioned. They can come out to the side and so on. But enough of that. Let's get on to the 3rd version. Now, as we talked about with Zelda's Loftwing, if I bring that back in, the upgrade here is to the beak. Now, I forgot to make this change to the red one and the Groose one, but it's here on the blue one, and that is to use this inverted bow for the top of the beak. Now, straight up, this did not exist, let alone in this color. It just did not exist as a part back in 2020 when I started this build, which led us to have a beak shape that was okay, and I'm happy with, and I do like my one that's on display, and I think it does well at conventions, but this new one with the inverted curve on the top is just so much better. Now, obviously, the big change is the wings. The inspiration, as I mentioned earlier, was the medieval dragon. This set didn't revolutionize wings, but it did it in a brand new way, making use of some new modern elements, specifically the 1x3 rounded plates that obviously have the curved ends. And this allows for a little bit of extra poseability. And of course, that was what we used to transfer this over to the Loftwing. This completely revolutionized how we did the feathers, meaning I could get them closer together. It meant I could close the gap between them, simulating smaller feathers or just like a non-rectangular shape. And then also created this more span curve which matches the Hylian shield, which of course is what they inspired in general. Now, it's funny how this worked out, because when I looked at the medieval dragon, I went, that's the Hylian crest. Those wings, they are a giant red Hylian crest. So I was thinking about using them to recreate my Z016 Hylian shield, which I feel doesn't need a remaster, but I was tempted to just play and tinker around with and see what I could do with it at one point. And then I went, but wait, the Loftwings. And then I came back to them and went, yeah, they were really showing their Wave 1 age. I'm now happy to say that these sets no longer feel like a Wave 1 set, which is good, because that's what we want, is the Wave 1 sets to feel consistent with the other 9 waves. That being said, if you love the original, I don't blame you. But the other big thing this was able to add is, of course, the colours to the tips, which was always something we tempted to get with the light yellow wedge slopes, and then also the 1x1 plates. But this is the first time we can get the 3-tone, and you'll see this across all of them. They actually even have different white balances, with Zelda's having the most white on the top, and then Link's having less by having these slopes be in white instead of in red, and this sort of just adjusts the balance. But we've used brackets on the side, which then go to a medium lavender plate, and then the bright yellowish triangles to complete the shapes and give that colour. And I love how that looks, it's perfect. These feathers would have some wiggle ability, some more than others, specifically the ones at the diagonals at the bottom of those corner plates would probably not go very well, but beyond that, I think poseability is great and has lots of potential. You'll notice that I've used medium nougat as the colour for the 1x3 rounded plates. Don't know why I did that. That piece is available in white, so I'll be changing that into white before I buy these in real life. And then they're still attached with ball joints in the same place, and nothing changed there. Now, one thing that did happen while I was designing this is I was sort of reluctant to do it at first, because I realised that if I wanted this sort of splayed back look, which is what you're seeing on your screen now, which is sort of like whoa, like the stop pose, so like an air brake, but also is just the I'm on the ground and I'm shaking my wings around kind of and flapping like that, was super iconic to get. That would be really easy to do. But if I wanted a studs up design, the feathers would be pointing in the wrong way, which meant if I was going to make this work, the undersides of the wings had to look as good as the top. And it's not perfect, but it does the job just close enough. This means that when you're flying and you have them out to your sides, and I hope you know that in real life, I am flapping my arms as I'm talking about this, you see the backside, which is why those pieces need to be in white or red so they can be hidden. And this looks much better on the other two, which you'll see in a second, but here on Link's it doesn't look as amazing. But it also means if you angle them at about 45 degrees and you're looking front on, you can still see the good side of the wings while having the bad side mostly be on the top. It's a compromise. It looks good for what it is. I'm happy with where they are and how they sit. It's a huge, huge improvement. I'm really, really happy with these as play scale Loftwings. They don't compare to any of the beautiful custom ones that people have done, but as stuff that is designed to be played with, I think they're great. And I'm really hoping that the wings aren't super heavy. I can see them being a problem, but I'm hoping with the angles you're going to want them at, the sort of friction of them coming into the sides will be enough to keep them upright. Or at least that's what I'm really, really hoping, because it will be devastating to order these parts and then it just not to work. But that is a problem for Octane in a month or two. As for other subtle changes, nothing else really to report, of course, beyond the change which was made in version 2 actually, and I've had on my real life one forever, is the ability to adjust the saddle position so that Link can sit more forward or more further back depending on what you want to do. They can of course always attach the back of their studded feet into these as well, but these are mostly to lay them down or to have them stand up, which is what Groose is doing in the box art to chuck eggs. But let's quickly take a look at the other side build of this set before we move over to Groose's and discuss the color change aspects. So side build here has also been completely revamped. I don't know what it was before, but like it was supposed to be this like launch jetty like you actually get on Skyloft, but instead it was kind of just like a rock with a wooden platform on it, but it was in olive green on the base, so it didn't look like sky floaty enough, and the platform was just on olive green, so it was very weird. It was very much a wave one build. I deliberately tried to keep as much here the same rather than completely reinventing the wheel. I didn't want to use this as an excuse to, oh, just change the build or include like a different landing platform. I chose to keep the same concept, so it had to be a launch point on a rock. And all we really changed was the scale. I even kept the same building techniques, just added an extra layer of detail. And I did change out the bird statue, which is that aqua and white blob, into a brick build version, just to match style better. Also, a recolor of the blue owl was just not here and it wasn't working. But yeah, it still looks a little rough, but that is deliberate. Whenever we do remasters, I don't want to erase what we've done in the past. We'll talk about that with the figures in a second. I just want to sort of juice up where I can. And to be honest, you're not here for this. This is a side build for Owlan to stand on. And of course, there are 3 eggs for Groose to commit Loftwing like genocide with and like throw them at Link's bird and stuff, which is great. So the other one in this set is of course Groose's one, which is just a simple color swap into dark grey. Still has the white, less white than all the others, and then medium lavender and dark red on the wings. His Loftwing in game, you'll see on the reference image later, is not dark grey, but this is another example of Zelda colors just not matching. It just doesn't exist. I can't do anything about it. And the eyes are red, not because it's evil, but just because that was the closest tone match. As again, I've said before, color blocking is super, super important. And of course, it's got the wrong beak on as well. But this one does all the same poseability. It can flap around. I'm really looking forward to having these. I think I'm just so much happier with those wings now. I can really truly say I can let this one rest. And then just to go back to Zelda's for a second, this one is in the blue color, which matches the amiibo, not the concept art. Has bright light blue and then pink, bright pink as the wingtips. And we've already mentioned it's got like the royal chain around the neck, which would constrict head movement, but just take it off, you know, it's whatever. And this is another one that's great. I've wanted to do the blue Loftwing since before I wanted to do the wing remaster. Not so much to have it come in a set, but just because I like it a lot and I think it's a lot of fun. But beyond getting those wings sort of to fold down to the side to recreate the amiibo, I'm pretty happy with all the posability here and the models in general. I do love them a lot. And of course, it was a huge upgrade. A lot of just things to fix with them, none more so than these 3 figures. Whew, wave 1 was rough. I was learning. Now 2 of these have already had remasters, both in wave 4 for the Imprisoned Seal break and of course for just every set the Skyward Sword Link comes in really. So Imprisoned Seal break, more importantly I think Koloktos battle, you should watch that one, that's a great one. And then Owlan got his turn and got to be upgraded as well. So let's take a quick look through. We have Link from Skyward Sword here, who has his dual molded legs and dual molded arms. Remember, I can get away with that on this figure because Nintendo must say they must, and well, it's being reused across multiple sets. Plus this is a remaster, so it doesn't really count anyway. As I said, when it came to these remastered figures, Link's an exception, but for Groose and Owlan, we actually drew over the original Wave 1 versions so that even though there were mistakes in those edges, again, I want to keep things authentic. I don't want to just remaster and make everything perfect. I want to pay homage to those original designs because while they were rough, they were necessary. They were important steps in the process. And to do that, I just draw around the outlines. It's the same thing we did in the remaster of Series series, one of the minifigure series as well. But Link here has the same hairpiece. It really should be more rounded out, but this is the Skyward Sword hair, the Twilight Princess hair. Same mold we've been using since Wave 1, just here in its more detailed form. And he has his happy expression as well. He is not drawn with the proper colours, I'm realising. But Groose is, though, which is using his custom molded hairpiece, which was designed for him in Wave 1, because just because we've remastered this set, this is still canonically happening in Wave 1. Again, I need to do the timeline again, I'm sorry, the canon is all over the place. And he has some printing on his legs, printing on the torso, dual molded arms, and then he has the custom molded hairpiece with his ears on. Because it's custom molded, I include the ears, I don't if it's not custom molded. And he is actually making use of one of the newest skin tones now as well. I believe it's the medium tan one, so one shade darker than Link's. Just because it's available, and why not get some use out of it. And then here is Owlan, who is the one that was exclusively done for this video to get him up to, well, looking normal, quite frankly. Using the same hairpiece, which is a riff off one of the old Lord of the Rings ones, but let's just pretend it's the new elf piece from Rivendell because it's the only elf piece in circulation right now that suits him. He is also using that warm tan skin tone, same as Groose, so one shade darker than Link's, and he's got all of his tan printing over him, and the tree has been updated. He's come into the newest style, so he's a little more simplified in that point, but he has the normal eyes, so to be honest, it is all okay because he is back to normal. Let's go on to the Loftwings then, because I did redraw these, and they all have the correct beak because they are all from the blue one and they are colour swaps. So here we have Link's. Again, you can see the colour scheme very clearly. There is an argument to be made that that bird is reddish-orange, however, I'm going red because one, the pieces do not exist in reddish-orange, and two, I don't think it would look right, it just wouldn't feel right. Bright yellowish-orange does work really well, and I argue that those tips are definitely bright light yellow. I think game renders and stuff just look different. And you can see here what I mean about the simplification of the eyes. Ideally, these should have prints on them, but we've chosen sort of the most distinct colour that doesn't look like deranged. So if I'd done bright yellow orange for its pupil here, it would not have looked good. So we went with blue to be like a more subtler contrast colour, but also it is in the eye, so it's there. No saddle on this guy, of course, but you can pose Link on the back, and I'll put some pictures in of the real life version because he's so cool, and I can't wait to have the new wings on here. Groose is, again, colour swap, as we know. This is what I meant about this bird arguably being purple. I did try it in purple. It looked very ugly in purple. I did not put the ring around the neck because, well, quite frankly, I didn't think to. But also, what would I use? Like the Sonic ring? Even then, I don't think it's big enough. Like it would just get in the way of the joint, and the poseability in the initial set was more of a concern. And I realize that makes me sound like a hypocrite when we look at Zeldas in a second. But yeah, it really should be purple, but the purple is so dark it almost becomes grey, and I chose red for the accent for the eyes here instead of green because it contrasts better with the grey and yellow, whereas the green just looked weird. But again, fight me, I guess. You wouldn't tell me I'm wrong. I don't mind. And then just to finish this off, we have Zelda's Loftwing, which once again is not in the set. Would feature a chain around the neck because it's not in the set, so I don't have to worry. And in this image, looks the wrong color. But look up at that amiibo. Look at the amiibo. The amiibo is blue. This is blue. I refuse. Also, the blue looks so pretty. I'm really, really happy with that. So yeah, I got to do all three Loftwings and I got to remaster the set. I'm really pleased. It's another one that we can bring back into the lineup, and it's another one that you guys get to see now because please don't watch those videos. Like, it's great to have them, but I'm going to remaster them all. So that means that the dungeons are done. This one's done. Great Sea Adventure still needs a touch up, and so does the Guardian Scout. And I should probably redo the Castle Town People Pack at some point, although to be honest, there's not too many changes I want to make to that because it's pretty unrealistic as is. I think everything else I'm pretty happy with because the Boko's been done, it just needed new box art, I think. So yeah, we're like halfway through redoing them, but we will visit all the others in some point in videos. But I like it to add some new content for the people that were around, although I don't think anyone actually was back when this launched back in 2020. Maybe apart from one person, you know who you are. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. The wings look so much better. Thank you, Modern Lego, for inspiring new changes. Inspiration truly does strike, and this is the nature of doing mocks, is you want to go back and revisit things. It's a shame this missed the deadline for the CSS 100 stuff. That's all finished, so it'll be the old version that appears in all that celebrations, but it's another one that I'm pleased to have done and good to have out of the way. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you think it compares to the original, and if you have seen the Wave 1 sets, do give me a shout below. Which other sets do you believe need a remaster? That's always something we're open to. There are still a couple more on my agenda, but I'm getting pretty close to being happy with most of the first 100 now, I think. There are still a couple. There are definitely still some that need touch-ups, some more minor than others. But now that the dungeons are done and this is done and those, like the whole lump in Wave 2 are finished, I think we're pretty good. But I will see you guys again next week for a brand new custom set from a more recent game. And that will be next Friday. And we're approaching 5 years of the CSS, so it's good to get these things done. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.